All right, so we're going to get started today because it's a relatively big topic, both in terms of the amount of time that I'll probably devote to it, and also in terms of importance, and maybe also in terms of just the difficulty of the concept that a lot of people have. I will tell you up front that object-oriented programming um, tends to be one of those things where you may not fully grab it with your brain until you actually use it. There are certain things like that in life, but this is probably one of them. It just feels a little bit like abstract and like, why would we want to do that? Until you start really using it in a productive way, and then you will see that it is actually really a powerful concept, which is why we use it in most of modern computer science programming. Object-oriented programming is an approach to thinking about programming that that is sort of the standard. I mean, if you do any quote-unquote real programming out there in the world, you will most likely be using object-oriented structures. So I guess the bad news is if you don't like it, it's time to get used to it because it is the standard out in the wild for most of the programming that we do. What we've done up to this point is sort of baby steps on our way to being ready to learn about object-oriented programming. So that's where we're headed for today. So why object-oriented programming? Like most of the things I've shown you from the beginning of class until right now, object-oriented programming will give us more power. And what I mean by that is it gives us the ability to do more and more powerful things with less work. It's more scalable, it's easier to debug, it is more manageable. So it's all of those things. And the trade-off, of course, is that it's a little bit conceptually difficult to step into. So don't get frustrated if you don't get it right away, but do spend some time coding. As always, with object-oriented programming, the best way to learn, by far, hands down, is actually doing something with it. So take the time, do the sandboxes, do the other work, spend some time developing an object-oriented code, and then maybe it will make more sense to you. So what's object-oriented programming about? Well, really, in a nutshell, it's about putting everything together. It's about putting both the data that we use and the functions that we use to manipulate that data together in a package. And there's actually a word for this. It's called encapsulation. Encapsulation basically says all that stuff goes together inside this object, and it allows us to do things with that object with relatively little difficulty. It allows us to manage, control, debug our programs very easily because of that, because we're using a blueprint to create all of the pieces.